Mr. President, I rise today as this chamber debates the nomination of Elena Kagan, someone who I'm looking forward to support when we get to voting, to raise another issue of ensuring justice in our country, an issue that the presiding officer I know has been concerned about as well. And that is urging this chamber to take action and approve funding for the settlement of racial discrimination claims made by thousands of African-American farmers. This is an issue, Mr. President, that I have dealt with for years, first as governor of Virginia and now as United States Senator. This issue was first brought to my attention by John Boyd, who was a fourth-generation African-American farmer from Southside Virginia. He founded the National Black Farmers Association in 1995, and he and a group of other African-American farmers brought forward a series of claims that were finally addressed in a lawsuit named Pigford versus Glickman. That lawsuit concerned allegations that the United States Department of Agriculture had denied farm loans and other services to African-American farmers between 1983 and 1987. Although I think history will probably show those acts of discrimination long preceded 1983. That case was settled in 1999, but due to very tight deadlines, thousands of farmers missed the deadline to file their complaints. An estimated 74,000 black farmers now await approval of funding by this body, following the announcement of a settlement of these additional claims by the USDA in February of this year. So the USDA has acknowledged these claims. They have agreed to a settlement. The funds have been appropriated. This funding has been paid for. And according to Mr. Boyd, this will mark, if this effort right now, if we could try to get this funding approved, the seventh time that the United States Senate has tried to act on providing the black farmer settlement money. I have to tell you that it is, I think, as we debate the nomination of a very talented individual to serve on the Supreme Court, and we hear folks on both sides of the aisle talk about American justice and America's jurisprudence, I think it is a blemish on that record and, to a certain degree, on this body that we in the Senate have not acted to make sure that the close to $1 billion in these settlement claims, again, that have been authorized by USDA, that those funds are not fully appropriated and approved by this Senate body. So these farmers, many of them who have been struggling for decades, and some of that struggle due to discrimination that has been acknowledged by our own United States Department of Agriculture, that we've not acted. The Senate, unfortunately, Senate procedure has gotten in the way of authorizing the payment of these funds. But now it is the time to act. This week, the Senate has the opportunity to finally authorize funding of the settlement costs and turn finally the page on this past discriminatory actions. As I stated earlier, this legislation is fully paid for, and there does not appear to be any substantive opposition to honoring the terms of this agreement. I know we are all anxious to vote on Elena Kagan. I know many of us are anxious to vote on the very important small business legislation. I know we're all anxious as well for the August recess to start. But as we go through this process on a matter that reflects on the integrity of this body, that reflects on the value of our jurisprudence system, as we think through trying to get out of town and getting home, I hope that our leaders can come together and act to make sure that these black farmers that many times have been waiting literally for decades for the appropriate compensation that everyone throughout the judicial system has said is owed to them, that in this rush to get out and get back home, we can make sure that this Pickford case settlement we, the Senate, finally take action and these farmers receive their appropriate compensation. Mr. President, I again want to thank particularly all those who've been involved in this action. I want to particularly thank Mr. John Boyd as I mentioned, from Southside Virginia, who has been a passionate and tireless leader on this issue for more than 2 decades. So with that, Mr. President, I see my good friend, the senator from Delaware, is here to speak on behalf of Senator Kagan, but I know he and The presiding officer have also raised this issue of making sure that this Pickford settlement and these black farmers get not their day in court. They've had their day in court. They're simply waiting on the United States Senate to act on a non-controversial measure so that they can receive the funding that is long overdue.